I think for any of you who are thinking about entrepreneurship, who are really thinking about like just starting your own thing, the idea doesn't matter. You are going to spend most of your time marketing, figuring out how to get technology built. Good luck with that. Managing people, trying to raise capital, more marketing, learning how to write emails to important people and beg them for 10 minutes of their time. That's going to be your job, whether you sell widgets or fashion or wedding dresses or software. And so the thing that your site or your product is about should be interesting to you and should be interesting to a large customer base. And beyond that, you got to just start, because you can always pivot, but you can't get back lost time. And I looked at my life and I was like, well, if there was ever a sign that I am doing something wrong, this is probably it, because I have a website called Recycled Bride with no visitors, and I'm getting a divorce, and that's embarrassing and really pathetic. And maybe this is all a sign that I am on the very wrong track here, and I should just fold this thing and move on. But I didn't. And I don't think that there are omens. So this is a Steve Jobs quote, like that half of what separates the successful entrepreneurs from the non-successful ones is pure perseverance. And I have come to realize how true that is. Everything was pointing down at that point. So my ex-husband and I had just moved into this like beautiful 2-bedroom beachfront apartment. He moved out. Then his company got sued. He didn't have any money to help me. And I was broke, living in like a palace with a website that nobody came to. And I really didn't know what to do with myself. So I decided that I couldn't fail, because I kind of felt like I had failed at the art thing and I wasn't going to do it again. So I wanted to find television producers that would give me some airtime and let me, and put like my name and wedding expert next to it on the TV. And so, but I didn't have any contacts at all. So I used Twitter, and I started finding all of the junior producers and associate producers at all the local news stations all over the country. I'm following them on Twitter. And I didn't like come right out and, hey, I want to do a segment. I like retweeted them, and I was like, that's so clever. OMG, love it. You know, it wasn't inauthentic. It was authentic. I responded to things that I thought were cool, but it was a bit of an effort. And I kept a little chart of who was who and how many times I had retweeted or communicated with them. And then eventually I said I would reach out and say, hey, follow me back. I just want to send you a quick DM. And then I would send them a 140 character pitch for a segment that would take me 3 hours to write because it's really hard to get that pitch into 140 characters. But I started getting on TV. We started getting some really big press spikes, and I started getting all these inbound inquiries. People thought I was important. They still are like believing that, but it was crazy. You know, people who I had emailed early on and said, hey, can we do a partnership? Would you link to me? And they would totally ignore me. We're like, oh, can we feature you? PR is super powerful, but you can't get it unless you have something to say. So you have to be really curious about everything you're doing and be like, now I'm an expert on, well, John ticked it off, right? Expert on all these things. Why? Because I Googled it. So you can be an expert. Just stay up late and read. And then make sure that when they start rolling the cameras, you have some good stuff to say. But here's what I didn't do. And this might be controversial, but this is what I really think. So there are a ton of events for entrepreneurs. There are a million places that you can go to hear people like me blow a lot of hot air and meet a lot of other people who think they might want to be entrepreneurs. I think that those events are a complete waste of time. Sure, you can network, you can meet a bunch of people, exchange a bunch of business cards, make a bunch of coffee appointments, maybe extract a word of wisdom or two, get an idea, make a friend, and that's cool if you're in an exploratory phase. But if you're building a business, then you have no business doing anything but building your business, and there is a much smarter way to network. You can choose people look them up on the internet and say, I'm going to meet that person. And then start stalking them and figure out how you can get to them. It's a much better use of your time. Recycle Bride was starting to pick up. Everything was really starting to go okay. And then my roommate said she was moving out. Right as I had just put like a whole bunch more money into building a new feature because I was using an outsourced development firm. Um, and this is a whole other thing, but I had a tech team, like an agency building my technology, and I was doing everything else. So I had just given them like 14 grand that I had saved up over months and months of working for $10 an hour. And then my roommate was like, I'm moving out tomorrow. And so I was like, how am I going to pay rent? What am I going to do? And there was this new website called Airbnb that had just come out. I don't know if you guys have probably heard of it, but it's a site that lets you rent rooms or space to travelers. And so I kind of took stock and I said, well, I have this nice place on the beach and there are 2 bedrooms here. What if I slept on the couch and rented both bedrooms out? And I made a quick spreadsheet and I was like, oh, at 80% occupancy, I'm making money here. Okay, I'm opening a hotel. And I put the apartment up on Airbnb and I got a couple of inquiries, but I wasn't sure, like, if I was really comfortable having strangers come in. I don't know. First 2 guys that inquired, I just got weirded and I said, sorry, it's occupied. Because this was all really new back then. I didn't know if it was even safe. And then I got my 3rd inquiry from a musician who was, hey, I'm in the airport in Reykjavik, about to get on my flight. Can I come? And I said, okay, I need you to send me some references, like a Facebook profile or whatever. And he sent me a song. And I was like, is this guy kidding me? And I listened to the song, and because the song was pretty good, and I really needed the money, I said, okay, fine. And 17 hours later, my husband walked in. Uh, he was my first guest ever, and he came with a guitar on his back and a bottle of champagne, and he said, am I in the right place? Because I thought this was a bed and breakfast. And I was like, no. And so his poor Googling skills are actually the reason we're together, because he Googled Santa Monica B&B, landed on Airbnb, and did not understand that it was individual people renting out their spaces. He thought it was a bed and breakfast. Anyway, we hit it off, and he stayed. But I still needed to rent the place on Airbnb. So we moved into one of the bedrooms together, but we went on to rent our middle bedroom and our couch on Airbnb for over a year, made close to $30,000 from it, funded the company to and well past profitability, and met some really cool people and drank a lot of champagne.